Welcome to the Music Reel. I'm your host, Nicola Burton. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dave Jackson of Creative Productions. Dave, it's very nice to meet you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Nikki.
Oh, look, I really want to hear about this initiative that you and Hayden are doing. Now, it's called WeMakeEvents. Perhaps you can tell the audience a little bit about this initiative, who started it, what's it about, and I guess who's it going to be impacting in the industry?
Okay, well, WeMakeEvents was started in the UK, and it was started by an organisation called Plaza, and a few of the supply chains in the UK, such as manufacturers and production suppliers. And what it is, it's to bring awareness to the governments all around the world, not just here in Australia or the UK, but all around the world, that we have been forgotten about, and that eventually funding will run out with JobKeepers and those sort of things, and the business owners or the businesses, they won't be around when we actually do come out of this COVID crisis.
So, okay, what is the call to action that this organisation is sort of coming together? So it's called a red alert right now, isn't it? So that's raising awareness.
It is. Yeah. It is a red alert because that's where we're actually in. We're in a stage of red alert right now. So what's happened around the world is, the governments have done furloughs or JobKeepers, which is great for the staff. We need to keep our staff working. We don't want them to be unemployed. But there's still, what there is the businesses themselves that aren't getting any funding. So we're still paying rent, we're still paying interest on loans, and, we're still paying superannuation payments and things like that. And eventually we will run out of money. My business alone, we estimate that we probably have enough money to continue until the end of the year. After that, we're out of business. And what's going to happen is all of these businesses like mine will just close, and there will not be any more reason to have JobKeeper because those people will be unemployed or they'll move up to other sectors, and we won't have an entertainment industry going forward.
Bloody hell. So you were, I'm not sure if you were actually featured, but I know your company was featured alongside Scott Morrison recently, where he was launching funding initiatives that would help our industry. Has this offered a lifeline to your business at all?
No. So what that was we had a phone call to see if we could bring some equipment out to Movie World on the Gold Coast, where the Scott Morrison government was going to launch a $450 million package for film and for stage or screen. I didn't feel it was right for us. Like we don't actually benefit from films or screen, but it was important that we could try and get Scott Morrison to our warehouse to show him actually what goes into it, because going to an empty studio where he has some props to pretend that there's some sort of industry happening there, it just didn't benefit us. So we got in there, and of course, we had the opportunity to speak to him, and I expressed to him that, we need more than just JobKeeper, or we need more than just loans. Loans, we have lots of loans for equipment. I've got millions of dollars of loans. I don't need more loans that I can't service. And what we found is when we did apply for these loans, the banks still use the same criteria pre-COVID. So the main questions were like, what's your income? When do you feel business will return to normal? And of course, we don't know when business will become. March the 12th, our business went from nearly $1 million a month to zero. So, they said, no, you can't service a loan. So we didn't get the loans. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of other businesses who have done the same. It seems to be some of the smaller businesses in the industry may have got them, but it's the same thing. In October, they're going to want you to repay these loans. How do you repay a loan when you have no work? So we need more than loans. We need actual grants. And the other thing is we're finding is the people that are getting grants are the government facilities, government theatres, government art centres. I can tell you on the Gold Coast, they recently, I was there, helping them out, and speaking to them. And then they said, oh yeah, we just got a grant for new equipment. Well, that's amazing. All the staff that worked at Hotter was stood down. no JobKeeper available to them because they're a government body. Yet the government's throwing money at them for more equipment. So there's lots of things that don't make sense. And we feel with We Make Events campaign is that the government isn't being informed by the right people. They're being told the art sector needs to be promoters and it needs to be venues where, you know, these aren't the things. Like, promoters can promote events, but if you don't have any production companies to supply the lighting, the audio, the video, you know, it goes on and on and on, you just can't have an event. And the other side of it is, without any actual audience allowed to participate in an event, what's the point of a grant? So the arts grants that have been made available, useless.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people are saying this, Dave. There's an ecosystem, a village in this ecosystem that make it happen, and it's not just a select few, it's everyone together. And you're not the only one who said, look, it seems like the grant mechanism isn't really equitable. It doesn't seem like the funding seems applicable to everybody in the industry. And I wonder, I'm going to ask you a question about data for you, because to me it seems like the data that everyone in the industry is sending off to the government, it doesn't seem like they're actually getting the message of how much we're actually contributing, what's the cost to the industry when this is all stopped, because it doesn't seem like their funding mechanism is matching the need, as you say. So let's talk about your company. Where does your data and your statistics, does it go to a peak body that you report to every year so they know what the information is?
No, look, I mean, we don't submit any data to the government or to anybody of what we do. So right now we're trying to collate as much information from the industry to submit it in one form. And this is the other reason that We Make Events was formed, is to, rather than, you know, each individual people trying to submit little things here, there and everywhere, and the government goes, oh, well, there's Joe's video company that earns $100,000 a year, and there's Creative Productions that's $9 million a year, and there's that company there that's, you know, $3 million a year. You know, they just look at it and they go, oh, yeah, what's that one? File. That one, file. You know, so we're trying to collate this information to go, we're about $1.8 billion a year of worth to the government. This is what we generate in taxes, in, you know, PAYGs, in GSTs. You know, we reinvest as production company owners. So far, we're sort of heading towards a number of between $450 and $600 million a year that we invest in equipment alone. And that's just in the lighting and video businesses. You know, there's caterers, there's communications people, there's truck drivers, you know, it goes on and on. We haven't even scratched the surface of the self-employed contractors that work in the industry. So, yeah, so it's a hard one to do.
Well, it sounds like what you're doing is a great first step, because imagine if we had a pool of data that encompassed all of those people, all of those organisations that you've mentioned, and the government could just go, right, this, I know the number, I know the gross contribution, I know the cost, I know the tax that I'm earning, then they can actually make real informed decisions. So, okay, let's get down to it. What is your call to action? What are we in the industry, what do we need to do to make this happen?
Well, right now we need to just all jump onto the We Make Events campaign. We need to get as many people on there, sign up as many people. So the government just doesn't look at it going, well, there's Dave Jackson and Hayden Johnson and Kat Straub. They're the people making the noise. That's just 3 people. No, we need to get as many people. Now, we launched the Facebook page on Friday. There were over 1,000 people on there already. We've now started the initiative of doing individual videos of people telling their stories, telling them, you know, what it means for them to be able to survive, or what the industry has done for them, and, you know, what it will do if they don't get these supports. So that's one thing. The call to action, we are planning an event. We're going to get out in the streets. You know, we're not going to be blocking the streets. That's the most important thing. You know, we don't want to turn the people or the general public against us. So, you know, we have proper COVID plans, and that's what we do. You know, we're very good at logistics, our industry. You know, so a lot of people will look at this industry or the public and say, oh, those roadies, that's all they do in their black T-shirts and they get high. No, you know, we were involved in the firefight campaign you know, and I know like the TEG Dainty put that event together within a period of maybe 3 to 4 weeks, a massive effort, you know, and, you know, them to pull that together with all those artists to put it on a stage. They turned around a stage overnight from Queen playing and leaving that stadium at 1 o'clock in the morning to the next morning having Queen back on that stage with a completely new light show, video and everything else the next morning. Like, I would love to see the government try and do this. Like, they could not do it. They need to have us professionals there. This is what we do. And without us, next time that there's a national tragedy in the world, or, you know, where they need someone to put on an event to raise money, what are they going to do?
Well, no one will be here because no one's going to survive. And that's an important point I think everyone needs to understand, that all of these industries, through no fault of their own, can't earn income, and they've made such a massive contribution to the industry. And Dave, as you say, whenever there's a crisis, you guys step right in there. You make it happen. You are logistic masters. Without you, events just don't work. So, okay, so we're going to put the links. I encourage everyone to join up, follow this. But I guess the final question, Dave, is what does the government need to do in terms of lifting restrictions? I mean, here in Queensland, we've got no one in intensive care. We've got 18 cases. What do we need to do to get us back on our feet? What does the government need to do?
Well, one, I mean, obviously grants. We need grants, not loans. These need to be made available to like all the business in these event chains. That's the number one thing that we need. Two, obviously, we need the JobKeeper scheme to continue until we get back to work, and not reducing it, like reducing it down to, you know, $600 a week. I mean, these guys, you know, they need more than that. I mean, they support their families. And you know, we need extensions for the self-employment schemes as well. So, and it's got to be tailored back to the industry. And lastly, you know, and I've just done another letter to the government again, like they've just released this task force for the arts grants that they've done. Now, you look at the people that they've employed, they're all promoters. Like, where are the people representing us again?
Exactly.
So,
It's got to be.
Sorry, I just cut you off, but the classic response that I had from the government the other day, and this is how misinformed that they are, is their response was, you could partner with a promoter and promote your own event so you could get a grant. Now, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. That clearly shows that you have no idea about our industry whatsoever. A promoter is not going to partner with me to put on an event with Queen. That's not going to happen.
No. And that's the thing, is that the grant, that mechanism, as we mentioned, it's not equitable. You've got people in Nashville and New Zealand getting grants out of Australia, and then you've got artists in Australia not getting it, and you don't have the ability to appeal. There's no transparency. So it's really not an equitable funding mechanism. If you really want to work with the whole industry, work with the whole industry, not just the select few that you always work with. And that's the feedback that we're getting. So Dave, what else? What's the final thing you'd like to say to everyone about this red alert? You know, let's give it a good call to action here.
Absolutely. Let's all get onto this. There will be events being done. You know, we need you out there. We need you supporting it. We need you not hiding in the dark again. You know, this is the time for us to step out of the darkness. We need to be seen. We need to be heard. We need to be active with it. And if we all get together, you know, it's one big voice that maybe will ring with the government. It's all we can do.
No, I love it. That, I think getting together and having that one voice is so important. Dave, thank you so much for joining me and for letting people know the reality behind these lockdowns in all sectors of our industry. I very much appreciate it. Best of luck with everything, and stay in touch with me, please.
We will indeed. Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, Dave.